Okay, everyone, it's 6:30. We are going to get started. So I'd ask if we could end all conversations. I'd ask if we can silence all cell phones. We are here tonight to hear closing arguments or statements or testimony from those individuals who have party status. If you have party status and you spoke at the last hearing, you don't get a chance to get up and speak again. If we get through everyone who has party status this evening, we will then begin to take public comment from those individuals who do not have party status. Those individuals who do not have party status and are wishing to make public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. Those who have party status who wish to make comments will only be limited by not repeating themselves or beginning to make arguments that are irrelevant, and I'm going to reserve the right to redirect you or cut you off if I believe that you are repeating yourself or beginning to make arguments that are not relevant. If you have party status and you wish to make comment tonight, you will be made available for cross-examination by Mr. McHugh, Mr. Heleniak, and anyone else who is present. Public comment will be limited to those who are in the room this evening. Those who have party status who wish to make comment will also be limited to those who are in the room this evening, with the exception of anyone who reached out to us earlier and indicated that they wish to give testimony because they were unavailable this evening. So far, only one person has requested that. Mr. McHugh deferred to me on that issue, and I have made a ruling to allow this person to make their testimony virtually. So we're going to get started, and this one person is Lori Shapiro. So if we can have Ms. Shapiro elevated to a panelist, Ms. Shapiro, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. And everyone in the room can hear Ms. Shapiro, I'm assuming. So, Ms. Shapiro.
Excuse me, please stop talking in the back.
Oh, now I can't hear you anymore. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Now I can, yes.
Okay.
Great.
Are we swearing? Yep. Mark, if you can swear in the witness.
I think we'll need a microphone for.
Please raise your right hand. Please raise your right hand.
Please raise your other. Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony about the given this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much, and just state your name for the record.
Sure. My name is Lori Shapiro, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Tonight, I'm speaking as a private citizen on behalf of myself, my husband, and our 4 children who live on Cloverly Lane, as well as some of our neighbors, Lisa Marika and Scott Fields, who lives on Cherry Lane, Stephanie Barong and Stephen Stanek, who live on Sewell Lane, Rebecca and John Steinberg, who live on Cloverly Lane, Fran and Doug Nadell, who also live on Cloverly Lane, and Ellie and Saul Neubauer on Hunter Road.
Ms. Shapiro, could you slow down? The
Yes.
court reporter's trying to take
Sure.
everything down.
Sure. Do you need me to repeat anything, or are we good? Okay. My family and I have lived on Cloverly Lane for over 23 years. Some of our neighbors have lived here for more than 25 years, and some have come more recently. When we moved here, we chose this neighborhood specifically for its unique character because we believed it would be a great place to raise our family and to raise our children and grow our family, a place where people care deeply about their community. And we were right. Our neighborhood is a wonderful, peaceful place to live, a place where even though we don't have sidewalks, you always see neighbors out and about, walking the streets, running, riding bikes, and engaging with each other. One of the requirements for the proposed conditional use variance is that the proposal must be an improvement which is not a detriment to the properties in the immediate vicinity. It is very obvious that this proposed senior living facility does not comport with the character of the neighborhood and would negatively impact the property values of those of us in the immediate vicinity by drastically altering the general appearance and character of the area. Under the terms of the ordinance, community character is a required consideration for the board. The conditional use ordinance states that if the proposal is adjacent to a residential district, the scale of the use shall relate to and complement the area. This proposal most certainly fails that test. This proposed development is smack in the middle of a residential area with homes surrounding it all around. Homes that were purchased in a neighborhood zoned R1 with quiet streets and no commercial buildings. The proposed development is not in keeping with the structures and general personality of a residential neighborhood in general, and the proposed multi-level structure is not architecturally compatible with the surrounding homes. This development would put an imposing institutional building in the line of sight for many homes. This proposed development would also bring additional traffic and noise to the neighborhood 7 days a week and at all hours, due to the shift nature of staffing needed for the facility, deliveries, visitors, and the added potential for emergency vehicles. This added burden on our small, quiet streets will make the streets we run, bike, and walk with our dogs and children less safe for these types of activities. This proposal is, at best, a complete disregard for the character of the neighborhood and the neighbors who live here. And at worst, it's an attempt to bully us for some other private gain. For the reasons I've stated and more, we are completely opposed to this proposed development. To my knowledge, in the last 2+ decades that I have been an Abington resident, there has not been a more reckless and disruptive proposal for development before this board that would so dramatically and negatively impact our community. We respectfully urge the board to reject the proposal and preserve our special neighborhood. Thank you for your time and attention to this important matter.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Shapiro?
I do not.
Mr. Lenia, do you have any questions for Ms. Shapiro?
The township does not.
Does any?
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the room who has party status who wishes to give testimony at this point in time? Okay. Good. Well, can you first give us your name, please?
Thank you. Mark Mealy, M-E-L-E.
And you have party status?
I do.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear affirm testimony about the given this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Just keep your voice up.
My wife Colleen and I, residing at 1421 Orchard Hill Lane, along with our neighbors Ross and Diana Kramer, K-R-A-M-E-R, at 1430 Orchard Hill Lane, Stephen and Jacqueline Booth, B-O-O-T-H, at 1440 Orchard Hill Lane, all of whom have party status, are vehemently opposed to this conditional use application. Simply put, the applicant has not met the criteria for conditional approval. We ask that the Abington Township Commissioners vote an emphatic no to this application. Section 1806 G.3 states that the project must relate to and complement the surrounding area. The construction of these proposed buildings are not supportive of our community character. Our home, one of the oldest homes in the area, was specifically built in this location due to the bucolic setting and the sweeping views. We purchased our home almost 20 years ago, in large part because of these views and vistas from every part of our yard and windows. Our neighbors' homes, although built more recently, were designed with stone, brick, colonial architecture, complementing the community character. The proposed two facilities, one footprint of 21,000 square feet, the other of 12,000 square feet, 4 stories, each totaling over 100,000 square feet of space, with 143 beds, would completely dwarf the encircling residential homes. The rooftop views of these proposed 4-story buildings, mechanical equipment, HVAC units would be an exceptional eyesore, eradicating the current views of trees and greenery. These proposed structures are disproportionately and exceedingly larger and obviously not to scale with the bordering area homes. The parking lot is not in harmony with the surrounding area and does not preserve or match the character of the neighborhood and family homes. This density in no way relates to nor complements the surrounding neighborhood compatibility. This is an abject failure of Section 1806 G.3. Section 1806 G2 and 1806 G4 states that this project must ensure suitability and minimize nuisance to the area. The construction of these proposed buildings would definitely be a nuisance to the residents and the community. Our neighborhood is strictly residential, supporting a community of families, backyards with green lawns, quiet evenings on our patios, and leisurely walks and roaming pets. We are a stereotypical suburban neighborhood. The proposed structures are the antithesis to this setting. It would be an extraordinary nuisance with excessive loud noise, noxious odors, and light pollution. This would have a significantly negative impact on the area homes and residents. This is a failure to meet Section 1806 G2 and 1806 G4. Additional traffic of an estimated additional 500 cars per day would impede further the safety of nearby intersections. Drivers, in an effort to avoid these areas, will divert to other quiet side streets, many of which have no sidewalks. This will definitely affect the safety of walking residents. Yet another failure to meet Section 1806 G5, failure for traffic and safety compliance. Finally, Section 1806 G2 directs that the conditional use cannot be a detriment to the properties in the immediate vicinity. Our realtor testified that the property values, particularly on Doral Lane and our street of Orchard Hill Lane, will definitely be negatively impacted. Common sense proves reduction in property values is a failure of this Section 1806 G2. Emotions aside, anyone can see that the applicant has not met the criteria for conditional approval. As such, the commissioners, all in unison, must vote no to this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh, do you have any cross-examination?
I do not.
Mr. Heleniak?
Township does not.
Does anyone in the room who has party status wish to cross-examine this witness? Seeing no hands, thank you. There are some seats up front. There are a couple of 3 or 4 over here if you want to go and sit down. Yep.
Michelle DeBello, M-I-C-H-E-L-E-D-I, capital B-E-L-L-O. I'm speaking on behalf of...
Yep.
Okay. I'm speaking on behalf of myself, Michelle DeBello, and my husband, Joseph DeBello. We live at 1419 Woodland Road. Kim and Sean Cease, S-E-E-S-E. They live at 1443 Woodland Road. Kathy and Joseph Ragg. They live at 1440 Woodland Road. Tom and Sue Stone, 1535 Woodland Road. Joanne Thalheimer, 1410 Woodland Road. And Francis Sanchez, 1302 Woodland Road, all party status. On behalf of the Woodland Road residents that I mentioned, I want to voice our opposition to this conditional use application for the proposed nursing home facility at 1209 Rydal Road. Woodland Road is where the proposed entrance for this facility will be. Section 1806B of the Abington Township zoning ordinance requires that this application must meet all of the enumerated criteria before approval of the conditional use application can be considered. The applicants have not only failed to meet the criteria, they have underrepresented the impacts this facility will have on the residents of Woodland Road. The applicants have to meet Ordinance 1806G3, and that states that the impact of the proposed use on the surrounding community must be considered and that it must be compatible with the neighborhood. This facility is definitely not compatible with the neighborhood, and it does not complement the surrounding area by code. The scale of this facility has not been realistically portrayed. The elevation pictures shown by the applicant do not adequately portray the height of this facility that will be built on a hill. As seen from Woodland Road, the impact will be dramatic. A commercial facility rising in the midst of an established neighborhood. It has been suggested that plantings will be an adequate buffer to shield this building from the neighbors. No amount of landscape buffering on Woodland Road, the foot of the hill, will be able to hide a 40-foot structure built on the hill beyond. The neighbors' experts have confirmed this. The scale of this facility is incompatible with our residential community, and the remedy suggested by the applicant of landscape buffering is unrealistic. Ordinance 1806G4, the proposal shall not create a nuisance. This criteria considers the impact on the neighborhood, such as noise and lighting. The activity surrounding this nursing home has been grossly underestimated by the applicant. The applicant has said a staff of 19 will be adequate for a 120-bed facility. Testimony by Mr. Rifkin clearly demonstrated that a daily staff of at least 40 will be realistically required to safely run this facility. The in and out of this 40-member staff, the ancillary services support staff, coupled with the many daily deliveries, supplies, medical waste pickup, medical transports, just to name a few of the constant in and out activity at this site. An irreparable nuisance adversely impacting traffic movement and volume on Woodland Road to the detriment of all who use Woodland Road. Lights will be required to be lit 24 hours a day, and they'll be visible by adjacent neighbors and anyone driving by Woodland Road. This nursing home facility will generate excessive noise and light far beyond what could be considered tolerable and reasonable in a residential neighborhood, and it'll be a detriment to all who live around it. Ordinance 1806.5 speaks to the traffic impact. Residents of Woodland Road are well acquainted with traffic. Penn State traffic is a daily occurrence for us. Student shuttles, university staff, students driving to and from class. Since we've moved into our house on Woodland Road in 2003, Penn State traffic has been steadily increasing. Peak traffic times are when classes convene and when they let out. A queue of cars from Valley Road up Woodland is a daily occurrence during peak hours. The proposed entrance to the nursing home is exactly where this traffic stacks up. Add this daily traffic to the new nursing home traffic, and significant volumes will occur, creating backups on Woodland Road, and they will spill over to surrounding roads when drivers cut through to avoid traffic delays. The applicant did not realistically portray the current traffic situation on Woodland Road and minimize the impact of the added traffic volume as a result of this nursing home. The traffic study conducted by the applicants was not conducted during peak Penn State traffic hours. The method of the study was faulty. The traffic strips were not secured by the third-party company conducting the study, all resulting in a false number of travelers on Woodland Road. Flaws in the study were evident during cross-examination. The faulty study, coupled with the incorrect staffing model presented, gives way to a very unrealistic number of people on Woodland Road presented by the applicant. The traffic impact on Woodland Road will be significant, and it'll be a detriment to surrounding neighbors. Ordinance 1806B3 requires the proposal not be a detriment to the property values. A real estate expert testified that a facility of this size and activity will negatively impact property values on Woodland Road. Placing this commercial facility in the middle of an established neighborhood will surely decrease the values of our homes, and it will change the aesthetic of our whole neighborhood. A few comments on necessity. The applicant's expert spoke of the need in our community for nursing home beds. As previous witnesses have testified, there's no demonstrated need for an additional senior care facility at this time. The applicant's proposal is entirely speculative. They have identified neither an owner nor an operator for the proposed facility, and they've made it clear that they do not intend to operate it themselves. Approving this application therefore presents a significant risk. The concern extends beyond the disruption and adverse impacts that the construction of these 2 4-story buildings would have on this established community. Equally troubling is the possibility that the project could get completed, then remain vacant if the applicant is unable to secure an operator. That scenario is not hypothetical. It has already occurred in our immediate area. At 440 York Road, the applicant's primary investor, David Mermelstein.
Objection to the relevance.
Okay, well, there is a,
You were not going to hear anything that wasn't part of the record. He's objecting, and I'm sustaining the objection.
well, then I'll just close in saying that building a facility in our established neighborhood without an operator could result in an open and neglected facility that would be a detriment to our neighbors. The Woodland Road residents respectfully request that the Board of Commissioners deny this conditional use application because it does not comply with the Abington Township zoning ordinance criteria. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McHugh, do you have any questions of this witness? You
I
need
do
to-
not.
Okay, Mr. Heleniak.
I just have one administrative question, Ms. DeBello. The fourth party you were speaking on behalf of, it was Cease, Rag, Stone, and
Thalheimer and Sanchez.
what's the Falheimer address?
1410 Woodland.
Thank you.
Do you have Sanchez?
That's all I have. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mr. Clerk, if I may, on 2 points, ask for a reconsideration of your ruling. If we look at the conditional use application subsection F2D, the formal rules of evidence shall not apply, but you can only exclude irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious information. This is continued. Parties are not limited to only what was placed in the record. They have the ability to testify themselves. Mrs. DeBello has done substantial research into an analogous facility that is causing a detriment to our community, and she is presenting evidence as a party in that regard. And I ask that you reconsider your ruling.
Thank you. There has been no evidence at all that the operator that is being cited by Ms. DeBello will be the operator of this facility, and for this reason, I'm going to deny your motion for reconsideration, and my ruling stands.
Separately, since we are at standing room only, is it possible to get additional chairs in the room for all of the
Well, we
residents that
have 4 chairs over here that I'd ask people, and if there are any openings, we can fill them in. I think there's some openings. So we'll there are 4 chairs right up here, if anyone wants to come up and sit down. I'd also, again, repeat my request that everybody turn off their cell phones, turn off the dinging and all of that. So, again, 4 seats right up front. It's actually my best side, so if you're sitting over there. Okay. Is there anyone else who has party status who wishes to provide testimony?
My name is Bruce Bach, Dr. Bruce Bach. My address is 1408 Stockton Road. I do. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Special Master and the Commissioners. My name is Bruce Bach. I have lived with my wife, Catherine, in this community for approximately 4 years, and we are the reverse of what most people have here in front of themselves, in the sense that we joined this community at age 70. So we came to this community because it had the kind of community values that we think is important, and our home is an intergenerational asset for our children and our grandchildren. I would like to address the conditional use pursuant to Section 301 of the Abington Township zoning ordinance to permit the use of E10 life care facility, continuing care, and an E12 nursing home on the subject property. The proposed senior care facility is said by the applicant to be permitted by conditional use at the subject property that is located within the R1 residential district and use an E10 life care facility, continuing care, and F12 nursing home. One of the stated future land use goals that the Abington Township Comprehensive Plan of 2007 was to encourage the development of senior housing within the township and to target the development of that housing, thus enabling aging residents to stay in the township. Through a comprehensive amendment to the zoning ordinance enacted in 2017, this special E10, E12 use were included as conditional uses in the R1 district. The applicant has claimed that the proposed senior care facility is in furtherance of the goals and intentions of the Abington Township Comprehensive Plan of 2007. I beg to strongly disagree, and I challenge this assertion. Because the underlying demographic data and its interpretation in the planning documents so referred to is dated, historical, and not applicable to the present day, nor actually to the time of submission of the original conditional use application. The data in the 2007 comprehensive plan is 26 years old. It's from 2000. And the census data is from 1990. That's 36 years old, and was used by the applicant's witness, Mr. Babbitt, to suggest that an expanded fraction of persons over 65 years of age were resident in the township compared with the aggregate data for Montgomery County. That statement is historically outdated and not applicable to the township presently, nor at the time of the application. The applicant's assertion that the demographic, so-called increased fraction of residents over age 65 in the township is evidence in itself of an unmet need for additional senior housing in Abington, and it has not been supported by data. In fact, those in opposition have provided multiple data points, which I will further detail, that suggest rather quite the contrary. Unmet need for senior care facilities argument has been advanced but not substantiated, and the township's comprehensive plan data never, ever envisioned what happened in the greatest mass mortality event in U.S. history, namely the COVID-19 epidemic, which the CDC has publicly estimated led to approximately 1.2 million COVID-related deaths and an additional 1.0 million excess mortality events. That means that people who wouldn't have died otherwise suddenly up and died between 2000 and 2023. COVID shaped the entire demographics of the United States, disproportionately decimating persons like myself and my wife over 65 years of age, ultimately changing the age structure of the U.S. population going forward. This has changed how we must look at the language of the 2007 comprehensive plan. You know, Kurt Vonnegut once said, "It's very foolish to drive full speed ahead when you're only looking in the rearview mirror. Others have said there's a reason the windshield is much bigger than the rearview mirror, because where you're headed is so much more important than what you've left behind. Let us deal with the facts here. Today, I went to the United States Census.gov website, and I confirmed what I had found in April, and that is that Abington Township has an estimated U.S. Census population of 58,664 as of 2024. The demographics, the numbers of people grouped by age, do not suggest a relative imbalance of residents over 65, despite the claims of Mr. Babbitt, in the Abington population when compared to Montgomery County. I will provide for the special master, as requested, essentially these graphs. I can read you the details of these graphs. They're just a printing of what you can see from the United States Census Bureau. And what do they show? They're actually fairly interesting. What they show is that the age group 65 and older in this community is about 21% of that 58,000. And that is stated to be about 10% higher than the rate in Montgomery County, which is 19%. Please note what's going on here. The 10% higher rate actually relates to the base number, 21%. If you take 10% of that, you get 2.1, and you back that down, and you get 19, okay? So if you look at the same data and you look at Montgomery County, which is the largest comparator likely to include this township and others like it, what you see is that there's no more overhang. COVID took care of that. And what we're left with is a population which begins to resemble more of the state of Pennsylvania. Again, these materials with the graphs, which are freely accessible to people from the United States Census Bureau, shows that in fact there is no overhang in this community. However, there is something which is fairly interesting, and that is that the data suggests that there is a 1% difference in residents over age 65, which may exist in Abington Township when compared with Montgomery County, the larger aggregate. Let's take a look at the math here. 58,664 is 586 residents. You merely move the decimal place 2 points to the left. Currently, there are 2 4-level facilities that are located within 1 mile of the proposed megastructure. The Rydal Waters Complex is 518 beds. Residents in tiered care per the Pennsylvania state licensure, which is accessible on the website of the Pennsylvania Department of Health. As of 2025, the combined Rydal Park and Waters campus in Jenkintown, Abington, houses over 500 residents across various levels of cares. The specific Rydal Waters expansion added 85 independent living cottages, while the total campus includes 320 units, 114 skilled care beds, and additional personal and memory care units. So, if you take Sunrise on Susquehanna Road, which has an operating license for 110 beds, you get a total of 628, which sort of neatly accounts for the 560 plus over 65, which are being unsupportedly used to suggest that there is an unmet need for nursing care and assisted living facilities. So the demographic enrichment or increase in fraction of residents over 65 in Abington Township is not statistically significant and is probably reflective of an abundance of existing facilities, which increases the number of residents over age 65 as township residents. Only half of the available spaces are filled with residents in Rydal Waters who had formerly resided in Abington Township. So capacity is apparently in excess of local township demand, at least according to the marketing director of the Rydal Waters combined facility. Dr. Packer found similar findings in her survey of the 4,000 beds which are available within 5 miles of the proposed conditional utilization site. So, Sunrise currently occupies and operates at about 65% rated capacity, according to data which is publicly available from complaint files at the Pennsylvania Department of Health. The township has one of the highest concentrations of senior care facilities closely adjacent to the proposed conditional use site, more than 628 beds. Another 128-bed facility is redundant, and it is access to current needs, present, current, and future. The application has the burden of demonstrating this institutional development satisfies the requirements of 1806G of the zoning ordinance. Let me state that I believe that it has failed to meet the community character and neighborhood compatibility as defined in subsection 1806G.3. The ordinance requires that when a conditional use is adjacent to a residential property, the scale and nature of the proposed use must relate to and complement the surrounding neighborhood. Proposed Lot 2, reading from the applicant's application, will consist of 6.281 acres and a 12,000 square foot and a 24,000 square foot facility containing a cubic footage in excess of 100,000 feet, and will consist of 74 units of an 82-bed assisted living memory care facility as Building 1 and a 46-unit independent living facility in Building 2. This is a massive two-building institution. It will loom over, dominate the detached single-family homes that surround the Sylvan site and area around it. The community around the site is one of tree-lined streets, meticulously maintained lawns, social interaction, spacious lots, land which follows the natural contours, and beautiful older homes, notable for its residential, settled, and calm character. It is not a 24-hour-a-day, 3-shift-a-day, 70 cars per change of shift, in and out on a road which was never designed to accommodate that. No amount of remediation, berm construction, landscaping, or architectural filigree can obscure the development as proposed would create a massive complex entirely at odds with the character and purposes of the existing single-family home residential neighborhood. Point 2, failure to ensure suitability and to minimize nuisances, subsection 1806G.2 and subsection 1806G.4. The ordinance states that a conditional use must be suitable for its location and not create excessive nuisance, hazards, or adverse effects. Now, nuisance is one of those funny words. Nuisances are things which get under your fingernails and actually destroy the quality of your life. In our last hearing, Dr. Scott Rifkin pointed out that a skilled nursing facility and assisted care facilities almost are always located on main arterial streets. Furthermore, they have more than one road access for egress and ingress because of the need for emergency access and transport, as well as maintenance, delivery, supply, and repair. This is clearly evident. All you need to do is go to Google Maps and look down on Rydal Park and the Sunrise facilities, both having independent road access to Susquehanna Road and Valley Rydal and Susquehanna and Huntington Road, respectively. That is not the case with the applicant's proposal. The proposed 2 entrances on Woodland do not support a necessary 2 independent exit pathways for safety and to provide for an orderly potential traffic flow on Woodland flowing into Valley. The nuisance and disruptive factors are multiple. This is not the same thing as a single-family home. even though you'd need to stack 6 on top of one another to reach one of these buildings. The construction of the proposed facility, both above ground and underground parking, will require the removal of hundreds, if not thousands, of cubic yards of soil, torn up vegetation, tree debris, and rock. This will necessitate a large number of dump trucks, heavy excavation equipment, construction cranes, continuing delivering of materials, and constant noise. I have grandchildren under the age of 4 years. Nap time is sacred, and it is a continuing noise hazard. Just during construction, you have heard that the immediate neighbors have great concerns about the ongoing noise and light of the mechanical ventilation. But let's consider other points. Failures of water service, sewer service, and potentially electrical service or natural gas is the very definition of a modern nuisance. This includes intermittent, necessary construction-related discontinuation of utilities, and, most importantly, post-construction related in-service failures because the infrastructure was never designed to support an institution of this intensity or size. Our neighbor, Julianne Peterson, who lives immediately behind the proposed CU site, has detailed the concerns of those who do live actually adjacent on Doral Road about the poorly conceived, poorly located stormwater management. I myself raised questions of the civil engineer about the volume of water storage and its dispersal on the property because of a concern about flooding, neighboring property surface erosion, the continuous lighting required to maintain a 24/7 facility, the high peak noises leading to permanent degradation of quality of life from the people that have chosen to make their homes in Abington Township. One nuisance not previously highlighted relates to one of the more common causes of complaints to the Pennsylvania Department of Health for senior living assisted nursing home facilities, and that is rodent infestation. Yeah, I know, really popular, but both Rydal Waters and Sunrise have had multiple complaints to the state of persistent rodent infection. That's rats, folks. And in their reply to the state, the Rydal facility has pointed out that despite contracting multiple extermination efforts, the presence of waste food attracts rodents, and that modern construction methods have proven insufficient to prevent ingress of rodents to these facilities. The Meadow Brick Creek along the border of the Rydal Waters facility was noted to be a natural corridor for infestation. I'm not joking, folks. Rats are a really big problem. They are a vector of disease, and I don't think we want to have them, the children on Doral Road, exposed to them. Let's move on. Failure to demonstrate traffic and safety compliance, 81806G5. The ordinance requires that the surrounding transportation network be capable of safely accommodating the traffic generated by the proposed use. The amount of traffic that will be generated by the proposed facility has demonstrably been significantly understated by the applicant for continual use. Dr. Rifkin gave the staffing figure, which ranged between 20 to 35 to 40 persons at peak shift. That means that, let's think about that. There are going to be an additional 15 to 20 individuals who will be coming on as those 30 to 40 peak shift people leave. That's basically 60 vehicles that are going to have to come in and out in a relatively short period of time. And it doesn't matter whether they're full-time staff or contract workers. People still have to arrive and depart. There will be care assistance in the living assistance units. And that was something that was noted strongly by Dr. Rifkin. This would typically add another 25 more persons to peak shift. Oh my goodness, now it's getting to be up to almost 100 cars every time you have a peak shift change. And I think that it is extremely important to realize that Public transit via train SEPTA is possible, but oh yeah, we've been through this already. There's no sidewalk or safe pedestrian access along Valley Road to Susquehanna. The traffic engineering report was, at best, superficial, limited, did not specify vehicle mix, and came to the contrafactual conclusion that traffic along Valley Road is actually decreased based on a one-day audit done by a contract vendor for which there are significant concerns about its validity and inclusiveness. By the way, the very manuals which the traffic engineer cited make the point that one snapshot, a 12-hour or 24-hour period, is not sufficient to establish dynamic load, and most tellingly, the intersection of Susquehanna and Valley Road was not evaluated. That means if there's a backup on Woodland and it backs up into Valley, it's going to influence the traffic at that pivotal point between Susquehanna, Valley, and Rydal. And it's one where traffic today backs up all the way to York and beyond because we don't have a way of clearing that intersection. Add another 100 cars to that, and you have reached a situation which is extremely, extremely serious. Now, so another point is other members of this community have already commented on the high risk, what we call X-cross intersections. They're not 90 degrees, they're more than X. That means that there are limited sighting views, and they are much more likely, statistically, to be involved in single vehicle or multiple vehicle accidents. Other members of the community have also added that the Penn State Abington traffic and the relative safety risk of increased and higher traffic flow coupled with the higher than posted speeds driven by non-resident drivers using Rydal, Woodland, and Doral streets. This is a traffic nightmare which is waiting to happen. Let's look at safety compliance. Safety compliance includes unintended consequences of highly concentrated in assisted living, memory care, and nursing facility patients in a single limited area, all served by a single limited emergency medical resource, which is right over there. I'm a retired physician with a board certification in internal medicine, training in internal medicine, and in emergency medicine. Before there were boards, I was practicing emergency medicine. I have real-world experience as a senior Center City emergency physician. I've worked at San Francisco General Mission Emergency Hospital and the St. Francis Hospital in San Francisco, and I've been hospital officer of the day at the San Francisco Veterans Administration. Both my daughter and my son are emergency medicine physicians working in the ER of Jefferson University Healthcare System now for almost 10 years. ER physicians rotate among hospitals, and currently both he and she cover Center City, Methodist, and Einstein. They do not currently cover Jefferson Abington, but have both worked there in rotation during their training. Both of them are expert in the effects of multiple acute emergencies arriving simultaneously in an ER. And I can speak to that from direct experience. You simply cannot be two places at once. You cannot, as a physician, anticipate who's going to go critical in what order or at what time. Second of all, both my children have repeatedly spoken about the poor clinical outcomes associated with the negative impact of multiple simultaneous high acuity events in the ER like Abington. And they can speak to the inevitability of multiple events occurring. It's really kind of interesting. Once you have a serious event, and I can attest to this from my personal experience, it's much more likely that you'll have another one in quick sequence. Nobody knows why. The data is there. It's been talked about for 25 years. We don't know, but if you get one, you're going to get another. And if the traffic which lets you go to a hospital is occluded because you've got a nursing facility, or that nursing facility is essentially creating additional high acuity patients, you have the prescription for something which none of us would like to have, because it's going to negatively impact resources available to the community, diverting attention from less acutely ill patients, which might be actually everyone in this room. So the other thing I want to comment on, which has not been commented on, is that there's a little unwelcome practice which is developed. And that is that, as Dr. Rifkin had indicated, sometimes you can't get enough staff to meet the requirements for licensure for your skilled nursing facility or...
I'm going to object to the relevance of this testimony.
How so, sir?
What is the relevance of this testimony?
The relevance is that I believe this facility will act as a nuisance. I will define that nuisance as...
I just want to point out, Ms. Buck, you're now at 26. You are now at 26 minutes. I would hope that...
Has any other of the experts, sir, been
Well,
restricted?
you're not an
expert.
expert. You're not an expert, sir.
I'm not.
You're
I'm not.
a member with party status. We are giving you a lot of leeway here to be talking about things as if you are an expert. You have not been qualified as an expert. So I would ask the best you can, if you can maybe start wrapping up your comments.
As you wish, Special Master. So the problem that we have is that people get shipped to the ER from a facility like the one that the applicant is proposing. They get shipped not for medical reasons, but they get shipped because they don't have the staff to cover them. So they get dumped in the ER, and they wait for about 7 or 8 hours, and then they get sent back. And that happily just means that the people at the facility were no longer on shift. Okay, so having been requested to wrap up, I will. I would like to thank my fellow residents of this neighborhood that we are joining together to say to the commissioners and the special master that what is being proposed is not simply another building. It's a permanent change to the character of our community and the quality of the life that we currently enjoy. If approved, the consequences will not be borne by the applicant. They will be borne by us, the families who actually live here. The applicant has failed to demonstrate that his proposal meets the standards for conditional use approval. In addition, I believe that the excess to engineered stress on roads, sewer systems, water mains will require increases in taxation to pay for new facilities, which would be required due to this excessive use. We respectfully ask the Board of Commissioners to uphold the intent of the Abington Township zoning ordinance and firmly deny this conditional use application. I ask that you protect the neighborhood that generations of families have worked so hard to create and preserve. Thank you for your time, for your service to our community, and for your careful consideration in this matter.
Mr. McHugh, do you have any questions of this witness?
I do not.
Mr. Heleniak, do you have any questions of this witness?
The township has no questions.
Is there anyone who is present this evening who has party status who has questions of this witness? Seeing no hands, thank you, Mr. Bach. You can sit down. Anyone else?
Susan Rubin, 1310 Rydal Road. R-U-B-I-N.
Are you recording?
Yes,
Do you solemnly swear or affirm testimony about the given proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Well, I should have compared notes with Dr. Bach because I was going to say all of that. But I'm going to limit my comments to about 4 minutes. I would like to give perspective from someone who has lived in the Rydal area for over 40 years within 1 block of 1209 Rydal Road. My question to the buyer is, what were you thinking? Did you physically see the property, the mini waterfall across the driveway? That's what my kids and I called it, that leads into the stream that runs along Cloverly. The constant chirping of the birds and the character of the surrounding neighborhood, and then decide I'm going to put 2 buildings, squeeze them right up against the backyards of our neighbors on Durrell. What were you thinking? Did you think that the commercial endeavor was just going to fit perfectly into an established neighborhood of single-family homes that have very few sidewalks and certainly very limited street parking to accommodate extra vehicles? It is already so difficult during the almost 8 months that Penn State is in session to make any turns from Cloverleaf Valley or at Woodland Valley due to the backup of cars. This area in the last 40 years has seen Penn State Ogons become Penn State Abington, a 2-year change to a 4-year college. Students not only drive, but now live off campus and require van service, going up and down Woodland and other neighborhood streets multiple times an hour. Our beautiful, quiet neighborhood, where I walked my children and now my dogs, has become a more dangerous neighborhood with speeding cars that actually race through stop signs. Sadly to me, your traffic report, which was challenged, did not accurately portray the issues in our neighborhood, especially when Penn State is in session. And you want to add to this congestion? What were you thinking when one of your reasons for this commercial proposal is that there is a need for a place for Rydal seniors to go when they want to leave their homes but stay in the neighborhood? First, the neighborhood has changed, and there's actually very few seniors like myself. This is now a younger community with children of all ages. It was also mentioned during testimony that there are over 30 nursing homes in a 5-mile radius to 19046 and 1209 with over 4,000 beds. There is no need for another nursing home in Abington, especially one that, according to prior testimony, might not even be marketable the way it is presently designed. And let's not forget the 24/7 lighting and extra noise, soil displacement, and concern about water runoff, just to mention a few of the many issues that will adversely affect my quiet neighborhood. Now the question is, what are our elected commissioners thinking? In the past 30 years, there have been positive examples of what to do with estate land. We have Pennock Woods. We have Orchard Hill Lane as an example of 3 homes on a cul-de-sac on similar usable acreage to that of 1209, to just name a few. I believe we can have responsible construction if you're not choosing preservation that fulfills zoning requirements that will respect the very essence, beauty, and safety of our neighborhood. This commercial proposal does not even come close. Thank you for your time.
Mr. McHugh, do you have any questions of this witness?
I do not.
Mr. Heleniak, do you have any questions of this witness?
The township does not.
Is there anyone present this evening who has party status who has questions of this witness? Seeing no hands, thank you.
Thank you.
Just may have one moment.
Not been previously sworn.
Thank you. I do. Gail Weilheimer, 1282 Rydal Road. I am speaking here tonight on behalf of myself, my husband Larry Weilheimer, my neighbors Marie and Roger Ireland, 1259 Rydal Road, Patty and Michael Mills, 1307 Rydal Road, Andy and Gretchen Van Buren, 1322 Rydal Road, Cindy and Peter Christian, 1321 Rydal Road, Dan Dvor, 1446 Rydal Road, Marco and Liz Deoruda, 1449 Rydal Road, Zygmunt Pines, 1404 Lewis Road, Mary Lambsback, 1441 Lewis Road, and Tom and Mary Dougherty at 1441 Lewis Road. As the hearing officer is well aware, there are over 40 households that have party status. We, the neighbors in opposition to this petition, have chosen to group our comments for efficiency. But this should not diminish the magnitude or consistency of our opposition. This application for conditional use was filed in March of 2023. The first hearing was held as a planning commission meeting in September 26th of 2023. As there is tonight, we had standing room only, with people opposed to the petition. After the planning commission denied the application, as is their right, the applicant went forward with a conditional use hearing in front of the Board of Commissioners. That first hearing was October 16th, 2023. Again, we were beyond capacity for what this room could handle, and the next session on October 30th, 2023 was moved to the auditorium at Penn State Abington to deal with the overflow. That room was full on October 30th, as it was at the next hearing date on November 29th. The community, not just people with party status, continued to show up in opposition to this petition. As the community was again ready to show up on January 30th, 2024, hours before the meeting began, the applicant asked for a continuance, and that meeting on that night was continued. The continuance, this matter was continued for over 2 years. In the spring of 2025, some of the neighbors with party status hired a lawyer to try to get this matter back on track. It is important to show the detriment to the community. These hearings finally resumed in February of 2026, almost 3 years after the original application was filed. This is now the 10th hearing date in 3 years. And consistently since these hearings began, the room has been filled with people in opposition. I would ask, just for a visual of a show of hands, everyone who's here in opposition to this petition. I did the counting ahead of time. We are in excess of 75 people here in the room who just raised their hand. On Zoom, we have, looks like 20 people. I cannot speak to which one of those are in favor or opposed, but that's just additional interest in this petition. But for over 3 years, the entire community has come together to oppose this petition. That is significant. These are not people showing up, screaming at the wind to just say, "Not in my backyard." These are people who love their community and the character of the community. Now, we will address in our findings of fact and conclusions of law the death knell for this petition, and I won't repeat all of the factors here, as some of my neighbors have gone into them and we've had substantial testimony. But as the hearing officer knows, under 1806 conditional uses, the Board of Commissioners shall only grant conditional use under Section 1806B if all of the subcategories 1, 2, 3, and 4 are met. Using the objective analysis that we'll put in our findings of fact and conclusions of law, this petition is not code compliant, and as a hearing officer and the Board of Commissioners will have to go no further than that consideration when we establish in our findings of fact the fact that this petition is not code compliant. You can stop there. But in abundance of caution, we'll go further. So while 1806 is not met, and we look specifically at 1806B4, that it will not comply with the codes of this township or the state requirements and as it relates to staffing for nursing homes. The Board of Commissioners also has the ability to consider the 1806G factors. And when you consider those, and it says the Board of Commissioners shall consider them, the application also fails. These issues were raised by many of my neighbors in making comments in addition to the testimony that was presented. So I will just highlight some of the factors. The proposed facility does not comport with the character of the community. As you are well aware, the applicant is proposing 2 separate structures, each 4 stories. One building in which the applicant purports is an independent living facility, which in fact has been described by their own witness as a standalone apartment building with 46 apartments. The other is an assisted living memory care facility with 74 units. The hearing officer and everyone here has seen the diagrams and the photographs depicting what this facility is proposed to look like. Just looking at the diagram and comparing this visual with the existing community is evidence enough to show that it does not comport with the character of the community. Additionally, as you are well aware, the facility will be operational 24/7. There are 3 shifts of workers. But what's important here, because we haven't taken a field trip to go see the location, is to understand the contextualization of what the proposed facility is with what surrounds it. The proposed facility is adjacent to 5 streets and is in the direct sight line of others that are on hills. It is adjacent to Rydal Road, Orchard Hill, Cloverly, Doral, and Woodland, and is in the direct sight line of the hill on Lewis. When we think about what is being proposed and contrast it with our existing community, these are large, single-family homes in a low-density community. This is an established community. Mrs. Mealy presented testimony about when the homes in this area were built. This is a bucolic, isolated community that is enveloped by mature trees. With the exception of Doral, each property has a minimum of 1 acre. This is the highest tax base in the township. It is a quiet, peaceful enclave. At night, it's dark. We have very few streetlights. It is quiet. We do not have sidewalks. There are a lot of people who walk in this neighborhood with their pets, with their children, for exercise. People move here because of the character of this community. Some people have been here for generations, returned to the community because it was such a wonderful place to grow up. And while that happens often in Abington as a whole, it happens very specifically in this Rydal neighborhood. Person after person can tell you their story of why they chose to move here. And it is in large part because of the character of the community. The scale and use of the proposed continuing care facility does not relate to or complement the surrounding area, which is in violation of 1806 G3. If we look at the nuisance safety analysis, this application also fails. Considering 1806 G4, there will be lights 24/7. As I indicated, this is a dark community at night. We have very few streetlights, but this facility will have lights 24/7. The location and elevation of the facility will result in the lights impacting all of the surrounding neighbors and the people with a sight line from higher elevations, such as Lewis. There will be noise pollution. We have a very quiet community. Penn State comes and goes during the beginning and end of school, but this will have daily deliveries, private commercial trash collection, shift changes 3 times a day, and has been testified to both by the applicant's witnesses and the experts presented by the community, increase ambulance services to deal with the needs of the elderly residents of the community. There's an additional nuisance when we talk about the safety analysis, and that is the detriment on Abington Hospital. It is well published, that has been in all of the newspapers in the past few years. Abington Hospital's emergency room is at capacity. As a result of its capacity of 80 beds, they are expanding to 116 beds to meet the current demands of the community. This expansion does not contemplate expanding the emergency room to factor in an additional 120 aging citizens entering the immediate facility. That will be a detriment, consistent with what Dr. Bach testified, not only to the people that need emergency care immediately, but to the staffing needs of the hospital. I asked the hearing officer to take judicial notice that traffic enforcement is the obligation of the police department, if you would do so.
Yes.
Thank you. I thought we wouldn't have to call a police officer, but just in case. So we've heard a lot of testimony about the impact and the traffic impact and the criticism of the traffic engineer from the applicant. But it's important to lay out for the record what the streets, how they relate to each other. So the entrance that's proposed by the applicant is Woodland Road. Parallel to Woodland Road is Cloverly Lane. Intersecting with Cloverly Lane is School Lane, Rydal Road, where I live, and then intersecting with Rydal Road that goes into Woodland is Lewis. When we in the community know when there's a problem, if there's a tree that falls on one of these roads, we know what happens. Everything else backs up. What the applicant is proposing with their additional 574 cars a day is a left turn in, left turn out on the entrance of Woodland. Woodland is already populated based on Penn State Abington. When Woodland gets backed up, the overflow goes to Rydal, it goes to School Lane. And those cars go quickly because they've now been inconvenienced on the street they can't go on. If the cars go up Rydal and then on to Lewis, they're intersecting exactly where the exit is coming from this particular proposed community. So now we have additional traffic as the applicants, the staff members of the community are trying to exit. They are now intersecting with the people that have tried to avoid the traffic and go up Lewis, or they're creating additional traffic problems on Rydal and School. Overflow would also go to Cloverly. This would change the entire nature of the community and create an additional safety concern for those of us here. As has been testified to, we don't have sidewalks in our community. And I'm sure the township doesn't want to spend the money to put in sidewalks in our community, and we're not asking for that. But we are looking for continual safety in the way that we have used the community. Now, as has been noted, but I just want to highlight for the record, while this is a wonderful community to walk in, any time of day, you have people walking early in the morning, midday, late at night. And while it's a wonderful community to walk in, it is not an easy community to walk to. There was testimony from the applicants, one of the applicant's witnesses, that you don't have to worry about parking for staff because they'll just take public transportation. There are 3 vehicles for public transportation, 3 areas for public transportation in relatively close proximity to 1209 Rydal Road. One is the Meadowbrook train station, which is on Valley Road, 1.2 miles away. There are no sidewalks that intersect, and Valley is one of the busiest roads in the community. It is not one that's easy to cross. The second is Rydal Station. It's only a half a mile away. Likewise, there are no sidewalks that will go directly to the facility, and it is a very difficult intersection to cross any place but at this light, and even at the light, you then have to walk along Valley Road and risk being the traffic on Valley Road. The nearest bus stop is on Old York Road, 1.2 miles away, and there are no sidewalks for the majority of the walk on a curvy road from Old York Road to 1209 Rydal, which is the proposed entrance, which would be on Woodland Road. So it is not realistic that anyone is going to be taking public transportation to this location. That was also agreed to by the applicant's traffic engineer, that it is not safe to walk to the property. One thing that has not been addressed yet that is important to highlight is the sewer. The applicant's first witness testified that we shouldn't consider sewers at this point because that's a question for land development, not conditional use. But when we look at section 1806 G6, that section clearly provides that all proposed uses be capable of being served by a public sewer. And 1806 G6 references the adopted 537 plan by the township. 537 official plan was created in 1993 and was prospective for 20 years. Its wastewater, the township's wastewater management needs were projected from 1993 to 2013 and have not been updated since that time. At the time the plan was created, I'm referencing page 24 specifically, the township found that the percentage of residential land use has not changed in the past 30 years, and it is anticipated it will not change during any future planning. So when the township planned for sewers, it was considering the existing residential use at the time this was done, the 537 plan, and has not been changed. Now, the homes in the area of 1209 Rydal Road used to be serviced by septic tanks. That changed when the township went to public sewers. When we moved into our home in 2002, the township had a requirement, and that requirement still exists, that when a home is being sold, the homeowner must connect to the public sewers before the sale is able to go through. It's what happened in our home in 2002. It's what happened to many of the neighbors that I am speaking on behalf of today. What was planned for our sewers is a consistently low-density residential community. The applicant is now proposing to insert 120 additional toilets, 46 residential kitchens, an industrial kitchen, 46 residential washing machines, and industrial laundry facilities. This would exponentially increase the burden on the public sewer, and there has been no showing that there is sufficient water supply or that the current sewer system can handle this need. So while the 4 criteria raised in 1806B 1 through 4 are determinative in and of their own, when we look at 1806G, that advises the board as to the 1806B criteria. And when we look at those in cooperation with each other, it is very clear that this application is a detriment to the properties in the immediate facility and is not in the best interest in the township, and it should be denied. Now, the applicant's last witness that they called testified that it's conditional use. It's approved. It is deemed permitted just because it's conditional use. The applicant has the right to request this conditional use application, but the ability to request conditional use does not eviscerate the requirement that the application be in the best interest of the township, and that is 1806B3. As you've already heard testimony to, and I will not elaborate on at this time, the existing care facilities in the area are more than adequate to meet the needs of Abington's senior population. Destroying this bucolic, low-density residential community, which hosts the highest tax base in the township, for a facility that is not needed and is not in the best interest of the township, will diminish the township and have an adverse impact. As witnesses previously testified, specifically the expert realtor, diminishment of the community will decrease the value of the homes, which will ultimately result in decreased tax base for the community. When the applicant purchased the 7.3 acre property for $600,000, he then filed a tax assessment appeal and reduced the taxes. This is all public record.
What's the basis of your objection?
The relevance to the conditional use application?
The relevance goes to the opportunity for the community to do the same thing and decrease the taxes and therefore have an additional adverse impact on the community.
I'll overrule the objection, but I'll kind of ask it.
I'm almost there. Yep. Just as the applicant had the right to do this for this property, so would every member of this community if there's an adverse impact on the property values. Decreased property values entitles every homeowner to do the same thing, to the ultimate detriment of the township and, quite frankly, the county too, for our taxes. Now, regardless of who owns the property at 440 Old York Road, the fact is there was an existing senior care facility at that location up until 2019. That facility was purchased, it was shuttered, and for the past 7 years, it has remained vacant and deteriorating. That's relevant to this application because if there was such a significant need for a senior care facility in this community, there would have been use for that facility. But we use that as instructive for the concern here. Without an owner-operator of this facility is being built on speculation. The applicant doesn't intend to run it. He has no one in mind to run it. So he's building it on spec. And if he can't get someone to run it, we have now interrupted and adversely impacted the wonderful, incredible, bucolic community that we have for eyesores, empty eyesores, that will be a detriment. I ask the hearing officer to consider the findings of fact and conclusions of law that will be submitted on behalf of the individuals with party status, recommend to the Board of Commissioners that this application be denied, and I ask respectfully for the Board of Commissioners to deny the application as it is an adverse impact, does not comport with any of both the mandatory criteria or the discretionary criteria of 1806.
If you can wait 1 second. Mr. McHugh, do you have any
He gets to ask
questions
me
for
questions.
Ms.?
I do not.
Really? It's your chance.
Mr. Heleniak?
The township has no questions.
Is there anyone present this evening who has party status who wishes to ask questions of this witness? Seeing no hands, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to provide testimony this evening? And before anyone walks up, we've had 6 witnesses this evening. All 6 have done an absolutely thorough job of laying out the various code sections. If you're going to get up and repeat everything about these code sections, you're well within your right to do that. But I will just again point out that the issues that the residents, those with party status, have with the code sections has been made very clearly on the record, but it's your time. So whoever else has party status who wishes to make comment, provide testimony can come forward at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about the given proceedings, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Yikes. Good evening, Hearing Officer Clark, Mr. Heleniak, Mr. McHugh, and my Rydal neighbors. My name is Kathy Driscoll. I serve as Vice President of the Rydal Meadowbrook Civic Association, which is a party in this matter. And I'm speaking this evening on behalf of that association, its officers and directors, all of whom reside in Rydal Meadowbrook, to include Kim Cease, President, Aina Renrick, Secretary, Michelle DeBello, Treasurer, Michael Brailer, Director, Rob D. Silverio, Director, Mark Green, Director, Michael Malda, Director, Susan Rubin, Director, Blythe Cease, Director, Camelia Serwin, Director, Mark Stromberg, Director, Jamie Weiner, Director, and Tom Stone, immediate past president. The Rydal Meadowbrook Civic Association has been in operation since 1948. Its core mission is to promote the best interest and general welfare of Rydal Meadowbrook. On behalf of the entire board of directors of the Rydal Meadowbrook Civic Association, I would like to voice our objections to the conditional use application for 1209 Rydal Road. Throughout the duration of these hearings, and even well before the hearings began, we received countless resident concerns regarding suggested uses for this property by the developer, ranging from townhomes, dense single-family homes, finally culminating in the filing of this application for 2 buildings, an E10 life care facility and an E12 continuing care facility. It is optically obvious from the attendance of these hearings, as you can see this evening and as referenced by Ms. Walheimer, that the neighbors are extremely invested in the outcome of this hearing and the fate of this application. The neighborhood, the Rydal Meadowbrook Civic Association, on behalf of the neighborhood, does not believe that this type of development in the center of our residential community fits with the character of our neighborhood. While the overwhelming resident opposition is clear, for our purposes this evening, it is our unanimous position that the application fails to meet the conditional use criteria required for approval. I'll try not to reference too many of the sections. One of the core conditional use criteria upon which upon which you will base a consideration of this application, it states that the proposed use and its location should be consistent with the spirit, purposes, and intent of the applicable zoning district. Page 178, Section 300, Paragraph 1 of the Abington Township Zoning Code provides a very clear opening statement on the intent of the R1 low-density residential district. It states, "It is the intent of the R1 low-density district to provide low-density, single-family neighborhoods." This facility is the antithesis of low density, with its two towering high-rise buildings, one a skilled care memory facility, and the second, which will operate as an apartment building, its widespread asphalt parking lots, the absence of trees and foliage, and its clear institutional look and feel do not comport with the character of the neighborhood. This proposed use and its location in the center of an R1 established neighborhood is counter to everything the R1 district was intended to be. Residential large lots, setback homes, green space, and quiet, mature, tree-lined streets. Our civic association, which has been in existence for 78 years, clearly and deeply understands the spirit and intent, purpose, and character of our neighborhood, and has worked diligently throughout the years to ensure the R1 character is respected and remains. This proposal does not complement the spirit, intent, purpose, and character of this neighborhood to the detriment of its residents. Before voting, we urge the commissioners to look at the applicant's exterior perspective plan, which has been submitted by the applicant as an exhibit, and put it directly alongside the conditional use criteria and evaluate carefully its incompatibility with the neighborhood. Look at the massive scale and high density of this proposed development. Envision the detrimental impacts it will have on the properties in the immediate vicinity. Decreased property values, flooding, debris and sediment from runoff, displaced wildlife, light pollution, trash odors, sirens, and many, many more vehicles constantly exiting and entering off Woodland close by the Valley Road intersection, to include trash trucks, ambulances, deliveries, visitors, employees, and others. There is a reason that in 2024, the Board of Commissioners unanimously voted to remove the E10 Life Care and E12 Continuing Care uses, not just from the R1 district, but from all of Abington Township's residential districts. It is because these uses are inappropriate, not compatible with, and not consistent with the character of these residential districts. As our nursing home expert clearly stated, due to the inherent nature of their design, these types of facilities belong on busy, easily accessible roads, not embedded in a quiet community. Further, if this application were approved, it not only impacts what happens on this property, but it impacts what happens on and in surrounding residential properties in Abington, as it sets a precedent for other high-rise, non-residential development throughout the township's neighborhoods and throughout the other residential districts. To the commissioners, these are your streets and these are your residents. The longest standing civic association in Pennsylvania urges you to deny this application for its clear failure to meet the conditional use criteria. Thank you.
Mr. McHugh, do you have any questions for this witness?
I don't.
Mr. Heleniak, do you have any questions for
The
this?
township has no questions.
Does anyone present this evening who has party status have any questions for this witness? Seeing no hands, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Mr. Clark, I neglected to do one administrative thing, if I may.
Sure.
On behalf of everyone with party status who both presented witnesses and who has presented testimony, I move to admit all of the exhibits of the individuals with party status that have been addressed.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who has party status who wishes to testify? Okay. Don't tease me like this. Okay.
Tom Stone. I was referenced to some of the other, yes, sure. I do. So I'm Tom Stone, a resident of 1535 Woodland Road. I do have party status. Myself and my wife Suzanne were referenced as in a couple of the other testimonies. I actually didn't intend to speak today, but something relevant happened to me today that I thought was worth mentioning. And this actually happens quite frequently, but I was almost hit by a car driving down Valley Road, making my right onto Woodland Road, which is an acute angle, very difficult to maneuver. And I would say most people, myself included, need to move a little bit to the left to be able to make that turn. It's impossible to make it without, I think we can all attest to what I'm saying, without moving to the left. So I moved a little bit to the left, even though cars are not supposed to pass you on Valley Road. Frequently they do, especially at that turn, because they're in a rush, and literally a car drove by me about 55 miles an hour and missed me by about, I would say, a foot. I yelled. I was so shocked. I only want to say this only because I think that is relevant to the fact that we will have additional traffic there. It is already a hazardous intersection. And I guarantee you there's going to be more accidents if there's more traffic. Again, I didn't intend to speak, other than this just happened to me a few hours ago. And it's just a bad situation to add additional traffic. Thank you very much for your time.
Mr. McHugh, do you have any questions for Mr. Stone?
I don't.
Mr. Heleniak?
The township does not.
Is there
Thank you.
anyone present this evening who has party status who wishes to ask Mr. Stone a question? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who is present and has party status this evening who wishes to present testimony? Okay. Is there anyone who does not have party status who would like to make public comment? Please come forward. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break for our court reporter, and we'll start up again at 8:07. Okay, we are back. It is 8:08. We are now going to take public comment from those individuals who are present in the room, who do not have party status, who wish to comment. You will not be sworn in. You will not be subject to questioning, and you will have 3 minutes. So whoever would like to come forward.
Hi, Kelly Clerkin, and my address, Clerkin. My address is 1340 Woodland Road. I'm right next door to the property in question. Just a couple things. I don't have any codes for you or anything like that. Just a couple of concerns. During the building on Orchard Hill, we had significant water runoff down to Woodland Road. Our basement brought in a ton of water. Our sub pump ran for 24 hours a day, almost 3 months straight. No one could really figure it out. We had Aqua out there quite a few times. Basically said it was due to the construction, but they couldn't confirm or deny that. After the construction was complete, that water did stop, but I can imagine what the water will bring in from this construction next door. In addition to that, I do have 2 young kids who are 4 and 5 years old. They play out back constantly. I'm constantly having to clean up debris from that yard. I would imagine that during the construction period, that's going to be another issue for me and my neighbors. And also the influx of traffic. I can barely walk on Woodland Road now with my 4 and 5-year-old to take a walk in a wagon or anything like that without being worried about additional cars coming down speeding. And if we have a facility there, a nursing facility there, I know that we'll have emergency vehicles, facility vehicles on top of all the other vehicles with employees working and visitors. it will make it that much harder for our kids to take walks, which is why we kind of moved to this community, because it was quiet. Everybody, when we drove through, was walking their dogs and, you know, their kids, and seemed like a very great community to live in. And I fear that that's going to put a stop to us being able to do that. So for these reasons, I would ask that you guys consider denying this. That's all I have.
Just clarify the home that was built, like when it was built, because this is the most recent one, right?
For Orchard Hill, yeah, it was just built in 2024, I believe it was. So about for 3 months during that building. I don't remember the exact address, but that's when we had that significant water runoff.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
My name is Rochelle Hittinger, first name Richelle, last name Hittinger.
And if you are making public comment only, you don't need to give your address. If you would like to, you can, but you're not required to. You just need to indicate whether or not you're an Abington resident or not.
I am indeed an Abington resident. I presently live at 1745 Oak Hill Drive, Huntington Valley, which is in Abington Township. However, until 2 weeks ago, I lived at 1321 Meadowbrook Court, which is in Rydal, which is very close to the property at issue, and that property, and I did have party status at that time. In order to understand the concerns that I'm going to express, I'm going to give to the parties some pictures that I took. Everything I'm going to tell you, I experienced personally. The pictures are labeled 1 through 6.
Okay.
In pictures 1 and 2, which you have in front of you, you will see that the water level is approximately 8 inches high. This is all stuff that I measured, personal information. But you'll see the height of the bank. In one picture, it's 8 feet high, and in the other picture, it's 6 feet high. You will notice in both of those pictures, as well as the third picture, you will see erosion control that was put in there by Abington Township. And just to reiterate, this is the back of my yard and backyard of our neighbors behind our houses. This is Meadowbrook Court Meadowbrook is what you see. That is the same stream that goes through the property at issue on Rydal Road. And you see in the third picture that a retaining wall was put in by Abington Township. You see that there is a disparity between the height of the bank and the amount of water that's there. So you might be wondering, why is the bank so high and the water is so low? And the answer to that is in pictures 4 and 5. Because when it rains, all the water comes downstream and passes by our house. That's why. Now, even during, what you see there in pictures 4 and 5, admittedly, is a very heavy and prolonged rainstorm. However, when it's just a regular rainstorm, what you also see is that the water level rises but does not crest the bank. Everything from the upstream properties, including the property at issue, flows down through and past our houses. We've seen tree branches, we've seen debris, we've seen trash. During the construction of Rydal Waters, we saw PVC pipe. We saw different debris, we saw lumber. This is the situation that exists on Meadowbrook Court without there being any development at all of the proposed property. When you have a rainstorm, then what I also want you to do is look at the last picture, which shows the stream. What it shows in the middle there is a heron. The heron comes from the bird sanctuary that is adjacent to Meadowbrook Court. In addition, what you find is that there are fish all through this stream. It's a healthy, clean stream.
Ms. Hittinger, please wrap up your comments. Your
Yep.
3 minutes are up.
The applicant's property is at a higher elevation than Meadowbrook Court, and what you're going to have when you do excavation and construction and use of the property as proposed is you're going to have debris and you're going to have pollution it going down past Meadowbrook Court in that stream. And that's detrimental to the neighborhood, and that would mean that Abington Township is going to have to spend more money to either clean up the pollution or to continue to put in erosion controls.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, good evening. My name is Miriam Freeman, M-A-R-I-A-M, Freeman, F-R-E-E-M-A-N. I live on Lindsay Lane. Members of the board, I ask you, do you want to live in Cheltenham? I don't. That's why I bought my house in Abington, specifically in the Rydal neighborhood. If I had wanted to live in Cheltenham, I would have purchased a house in Cheltenham. Instead, I purchased a home in the Rydal Meadowbrook area to raise my kids, because Rydal is a residential neighborhood that attracts young, growing families with children. And Rydal has tall, beautiful trees and beautiful natural green spaces. Rydal is a peaceful and family-oriented residential neighborhood, ideal for families. By approving yet another senior living apartment complex, you will change the very reason why people who contribute to the schools via our high property taxes purchase homes and stay here. You will change the look and feel of our township through your commercialization of our town with apartment complexes, such as this senior living complex, thereby making Abington yet another Cheltenham. You will deter families from wanting to purchase homes here. Within an 8-minute drive from my house in the Rydal area, there are 6 senior living apartment complexes totaling over 1,400 beds and units for apartments catering only to seniors. We have ample senior living and senior care in our immediate area already. We don't need another institutionalized, complex facility. Don't make Abington into Cheltenham. Please vote no.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Blythe Cease. Certainly. B-L-Y-T-H-E-S-E-E-S-E. I reside with my husband, Jack Cease, at 1429 Valley Road. You can imagine, I know Valley Road. I know the experience of Valley Road and can only imagine what would happen. So I do join in the countless comments from neighbors who have voiced their strong opposition to this conditional use application. Rather than reiterate what has already been clearly communicated, that the application fails to adhere to the community character and neighborhood compatibility, my remarks will be focused on sharing my personal experience living directly behind a heavily wooded parcel of land that was developed by Gloria Day Communities. I resided at 752 Hallowell Drive in Beth Ayres, Huntington Valley from 1953 to 1976, and again from 1986 to 2013. That's 50 years. The parcel is 2+ acres, now partially wooded, in a neighborhood of older traditional style single homes, very similar to this neighborhood. As a child and young adult, our backyard was a peaceful natural habitat with abundant mature trees, green space, and wildlife. In 1978, Gloria Day Manor, an independent senior living facility, was built at 753 Welsh Road on 3.58 acres directly behind my family's homestead. Gloria Day Manor is just 2.8 miles away from 1209 Rydal Road. It is an independent living area. The structure is 5 stories high. This is a very similar situation. Housing includes 110 apartments and efficiencies. In 1995, Gloria Day Manor cottages were built on the same parcel of land, just a short walk from the manor. Both facilities are independent care facilities for senior citizens. The cottages are a cluster of 21 one-story, 1- and 2-bedroom single structures. I'm here tonight to tell you that the concerns of the residents of the properties directly adjacent to and nearby 1209 Rydal Road are valid. I can fully attest to the fact that there will be safety issues, nuisances, hazards, and disturbances which will not come and go. They will be 24/7. We experienced all these issues, and both facilities were independent care. They were not personal care or nursing home facilities, which would no doubt elevate the adverse impact on the neighboring properties. While Gloria Day Manor does not provide full meal services, many deliveries were made.
Ms.
at
Cease, your
all-
time is up. Please wrap up your comments.
I will. Many deliveries were made all hours of the day and the night. We heard all types of noise and sound throughout the night. My final remarks are going to be focused on safety.
No, your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to make public comment?
Hello, Connie Briggs. Connie Briggs. B as in boy, R-I-G-G, S as in Sam. I live in Abington in Ward 15. I do not believe the 120-unit institutional facility belongs on the 1209 Rydal Road site. The 2007 comprehensive plan says Abington should explore affordable and accessible housing for elderly and mobility-challenged residents. I agree with that goal. But that general goal does not automatically justify this specific 120-unit institutional facility on this specific R1 residential site. A national 2026 Pew Research Center report found that 93% of adults age 65 and older currently live in their own home or apartment. Pew asked the older adults living at home what they would want to do if they could no longer live independently. 60% said they would prefer to stay in their home and have someone care for them there. Only 18% said assisted living, only 1% said a nursing home. That matters here because affordability is also an issue. I have not seen evidence that this proposed facility would be affordable to Abington seniors of ordinary means. I've not seen income restrictions, subsidized units, Medicaid participation, or pricing showing that this project meets the affordable and accessible senior housing goal described in the 2007 comprehensive plan. Also, I just wanted to echo all of the concerns of these neighbors here of Meadowbrook Rydal of the 1209 proposed facility. I have all of these written here, but I'm not going to repeat them, but I agree with all of those concerns. We don't want to set a precedent and have these large institutional facilities plunked into other residential neighborhoods across Abington. One last note, the applicant tried to compare this proposed facility to Rydal Park, but the comparison does not hold. Rydal Park is not in an R1 low-density residential district, separated from nearby residential areas by Susquehanna Road, a very busy road, and is located in a setting that is very different from this quiet, single-family residential neighborhood, and is thus not comparable. The question is not whether seniors matter, they do. The question is whether this specific project fits this specific site, zoning district, road network, and residential neighborhood. It doesn't. And for these reasons, and based on Abington's conditional use standards, I respectfully ask the board to deny this conditional use application. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Meg Garrett. I'm a resident of Rydal also. G-A-R-R-E-T-T. So I would like to comment on safety and the paramount's of safety to the residents in our neighborhood. So these remarks are actually shared by some of our other friends here. And I want to comment about an event that took place for a neighbor who lived alone on a homestead in the Gloria Day neighborhood. While at work, a young man parked a van behind the Gloria Day Manor, where all vendor deliveries were made. He traveled from the parking lot through the lightly wooded area to the manor and to this woman's homestead. He broke a window entered the house, and left with all the silver and valuables he could stuff in his pillowcases. A female manor resident watched him make a few trips back and forth through the backyards. She called the police, but unfortunately the intruder was not apprehended. I wonder if the intruder was an employee of a vendor who supplied or delivered to the manor. If any of you have experienced a robbery, you know the emotional scar it can leave. I urge the hearing officials to recommend, I urge the hearing officer to recommend denial, and all members of the Board of Commissioners to also vote to deny this conditional use application. Protect the neighborhood and its residential character. Allowing this institutional complex to be built in the middle of our neighborhood will completely scar our community and your relationship and trust among your neighboring residents. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come forward.
Hello, my name's Marion Fowler, Thallner. Thank you. For 25 years, my husband...
Are you a Abington resident?
Oh, sorry. I live in Rydal, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. For 25 years, my husband and I have lived and raised our children 1/2 mile from this project site. I object to the proposed facility because, one, it is not consistent with the spirit, purpose, and intent of a low-density residential district. Two, it is detrimental to the properties in the immediate vicinity. And three, it is not in the best interest of our township. We live in this community because it's quiet, safe, and has a scenic character. The proposed high-density facility will inject traffic, truck deliveries, dumpsters, rodents, noise, odors, lighting, signage, and other detriments that don't exist today, which will negatively change the character of our area. Like our many neighbors who also object to this facility, we know that these changes will make Rydal a less desirable place to live. And who would know better than us? The applicant suggests that the facility is desirable because it will allow residents to stay in their community as they age. Well, baby boomers of our demographic generally opt to age in place in their existing homes or relocate to higher-end facilities that are nothing like this applicant's model. In earlier testimony, I heard the applicant's expert name Sunrise, Rydal Park, Abington Baptist Church, and St. Joseph Manor as nearby facilities that somehow justify this project's location. However, 3 of those facilities are not in an R1 zone, and the houses near the 4th St. Joseph Manor were built decades after that facility was developed on farmland. Thus, the 4 facilities are not precedent for injecting such a radical change to our R1 zone neighborhood. In addition, the proposed facility would subject the township to the risks associated with this commercial venture. This facility will be no more desirable than 4 nearby competing facilities, none of which is fully occupied. When the applicant's facility does not attract enough applicants, Abington Township would be left with specialized buildings that are not easily convertible and could remain empty for years. We would be forced to deal with the headaches that similar closed health facilities have caused other municipalities. For example, as we've heard, the Chelsea, a senior living facility located only 1.4 miles from this proposed site, closed in 2019 due to lower than expected occupancy and what the owner called a very saturated market. The Chelsea remains closed today and is an eyesore in Jenkintown. The applicant's facility presents the same risk and is not the best interest of this township. For these and many other reasons that you've heard, I urge our commissioners to unanimously reject this conditional use application.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Hello. My name is Subha, S-U-B-H-A. Last name is A-I-R-A-N hyphen J-A-V like Victor I-A. I am in Rydal on Washington Lane between Cox and Meadowbrook. And I just wanted to share that Washington Lane is already very dangerous to walk on. We have a lot of traffic. I have 2 young children, and we basically walk on our property because we don't feel safe walking out or even driving out often because we're at the top of the hill. And people come through those blocks going exceedingly fast. And I'm just wanted to add that as a concern that with the added traffic that everyone has already described, I think that will only make our couple blocks even worse. And I echo what everyone else has said. Thank you for your consideration. Please vote no.
Anyone else?
Nicholas Tinari. I'm an Abington resident. T-I-N-A-R-I. Like the dumpsters that you see. No relation. Anybody's got any bits that you didn't get out, I'll use my 3 minutes. But as we're talking about safety, and you talked about Washington Lane and ride my bike down it, I wanted to point out one thing. Commissioner Hecker had a study done on Robin Hood Road where I live. Had the traffic company study the road. It's a 25-mile-an-hour road. My kids walk on it. We see cars. It's a cut-through street. They cut off of Welsh to go to Washington to beat the light up there. What I learned in doing a right-to-know request, or whatever you call it in the state, about that traffic study was 25 isn't what they consider something you do something about. Somebody goes 30, they don't consider anything you do something about. You got to go 35, 10 miles over that limit before the township considers that something you need to do something about. What's the speed limit on Washington Lane? 35. Guess what? 45 before they do anything. What's the speed limit on Valley Road? 45. Guess what, Tom? 55 before they'll do anything about it. So whatever the speed limits on all these various small streets that everybody's talking about are, the township won't do a damn thing about extra traffic until they're doing 10 miles an hour over those limits. So yeah, safety is a very big concern no matter what you do in this township. And you add all those cars and all that traffic and all those trucks and all those everything that they've been hearing about for all this time, it's going to be a major, major safety concern. Yes, commissioners, vote against it. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make public comment? Anyone else wish to make public comment? Okay, seeing no hands, we are, for the most part, concluded with this hearing. I want to discuss some procedural issues now with everyone present, so we know what's going to happen next. On August 7th, 2026, by no later than 5 p.m., if anyone wishes to submit findings of fact and conclusions of law or a memorandum, they can do so to my office. I'll be giving you an email address in a couple of minutes, and Mr. Heleniak will be sending out an email with that email address to everyone who has party status. Anything received after 5 o'clock on 8/7/2026 will not be considered. If you have party status, you are allowed to submit findings of fact and conclusions of law or a memorandum. If you do not have party status and you submit something, it will not be considered. If you presented testimony in the form of a statement and you attempt to submit your as a finding of fact and conclusions of law, just that statement in written form, that will not be considered in addition to the comments that you have already made. Once that, so everyone knows what the process will be. Once all of that is complete, once we have the transcript from Mr. Mangiardi, My office will prepare, or I will prepare as a hearing officer, a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. It is anticipated that the Board of Commissioners will vote will consider this application at its meeting on September 24th, 2026 at 7 p.m. in this room. What else am I missing procedurally? Throughout the hearing, there were certain issues that I took under advisement that I did not make rulings on, whether or not certain people could be qualified as an expert, whether or not there should have been what is commonly referred to as a directed verdict because the applicant hadn't met its burden. You can argue that, any of that, in your findings of fact and conclusions of law if you would want. We will be reserving those rulings until the final recommendation from the board. They will be contained in the final recommendation. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Is that recommendation going to be released publicly prior to that commissioner meeting?
No,
Why not?
because that's not the way it works.
That's not the way it works. That's it? Is there an ordinance or something about that?
No. It's called attorney-client privilege. I'll be providing it to my client, and they will be acting on my recommendation.
Isn't the township your client?
No, the Board of Commissioners is my client.
Well, who are they representing?
The township.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm sure there are several lawyers in the room who'd be happy to explain to you about who a lawyer represents, if there is any confusion about it. I represent the 15 elected officials. Yes?
Mr. Clark, are there page limits,
Nope.
font size limits, anything else?
Nope. Submit what you want to submit.
Mr. Clark, if I can add, there will be a decision that's issued by the Board of Commissioners
Correct.
after they take their vote.
Correct.
Will that recommendation of yours become public once they make it?
Once it's been acted on, it will be, through a right-to-know request. Yes?
Is there any objection to us writing to our own commissioner, Tom, via email to share our opinions?
You can do whatever you want. You can reach out to your elected officials as much as you want. None of that will be part of the record, but you're all free to reach out to the commissioners. Yep. Any other questions? Okay, we are concluded. This record is now complete. And again, here's the email address. E, as in Edward, Cherry, as in the fruit, at cgbaglaw.com. That's my assistant. She will be cursing me, I'm sure, sometime on I will indeed. It is E, as in Edward, Cherry, as in the fruit, at C, as in Clark, B, as in C, G, as in Gallagher, B, as in Barbiero, A, as in Amuso, G, as in Glassman, law.com. Okay. Thank you all.